It has the largest collection of French Impressionist art in the world. And last year, well, actually for the past 2 years, it's been voted the world's best art institute, according to TripAdvisor. Now, the two lions that you see guarding the entrance are not identical, although many people think they are. The lion on the north side of the entrance mouth is open, and his name is on the prowl, like he's out hunting. And the lion here at the south end of the entrance mouth is closed, and his name is standing in defiance. It's like he's standing real prideful. So those are not identical lions, but both of their tails are still bronze. Because there's this weird Chicago superstition that it's good luck to rub the tails of the lions. I have yet to do so, so I can't even relate. Over to your right-hand side is Orchestra Hall, home to the Chicago Symphony Orchestra, which happens to be the third largest orchestra in the United States, behind Boston and New York. But they're also in the top 3 best orchestras in the world, because they get mentioned in the same class with Vienna and Berlin. Now, the current music director is also Ricardo Muti. Now, coming up on your right-hand side, because as I told you guys who've been aboard, this is the cultural mall, in which we're going to see buildings date back to the 19th century and also historic landmarks. And over to your right is the Fine Arts Building, built way back in 1884 for the Studebakers, who designed and built stage wagons and stagecoaches, the automobiles of their era. And now over to your right-hand side is Roosevelt University, originally named the Auditorium Theater. And this is where the 2015-2016 NFL draft took place. Yeah, for the first time in over 50 years, it wasn't held up in New York's Radio City Music Hall. And Roosevelt University is built on top of grillage. Anybody know what grillage is? Nothing really but wet, loose sand and sticks. So this building is on top of a floating foundation. Now over to your left, these two naked Native Americans riding horseback are the Bowman and Spearman, designed by Ivan Mestrovich, and they've been guarding the entrance to Congress Parkway since 1926. Although their weapons or clothes were never included. As to why has been up to debate. One of the alleged reasons was Mr. Mestrovich was a pacifist, and the other reason was it was allegedly a symbolization of the Native Americans' military. So that's why the weapons were never included. Now over to your right-hand side is the Congress Plaza Hotel, built way back in 1893 for the Columbian Exposition World Fair, and it is also documented as one of the most haunted hotels in Chicago. Is anyone staying at the Congress Plaza? I should have asked that first before I started. Yeah, there was a book wrote about different events that took place in the Congress. Over to your right was the infamous Blackstone Hotel, built in 1910. And now on your right is the Hilton Chicago, built back in 1926 as the Stevens Hotel. That's the reason you see the letter S in the middle of those railings below the second floor window, because the S stood for Stevens. And with the building being a historic landmark, the outside cannot get altered. This is stop number 8, the Hilton Chicago. But in 1901, it was renamed after the 18th president, Ulysses S. Grant. So that is why to Lake Park becoming known as Grant Park. Now, the gentleman up there riding horseback is the Polish, not the Polish fighter. That's General Logan, who fought beside Ulysses S. Grant during the Civil War. And did you guys notice how one of the horse's hoof was in the air? Anyone know what that symbolizes? It don't matter.
Alive or dead? Alive or dead?
Close. How you gonna give me both answers? Like alive or dead?
I'm gonna say he's alive.
Yeah. One of the horse's hoofs was in the air, which symbolizes that the rider had been injured in battle. And General Logan was injured twice during the Civil War. And if you ever see a horse inside of a statue with two hoofs in the air, sort of like the horse is prancing, that symbolizes the rider. If you ever see a horse inside of a statue with all four hoofs in the air, the horse died in battle. That don't mean anything. Are 106 9-foot statues of the lower torso to the human body. And that work of art is called the agora. Agora is a Greek word that means prime meeting place, marketplace. And it was designed by the Polish artist Magdalena Abakanowicz, who lived in Poland at the time of the Nazi Germany invasion. And now over to your left-hand side is one of the first skateboard parks in Chicago for all of the inspiring Tony Hawk and skateboard community. And if any of you guys are still on board, once we reach stop number 11, the Sheraton Hotel stop, I will have the chance to show you why I was truly glad when they built this skateboard park. But you gotta remind me. So at stop number 11, you could say Tony Hawk or skateboard. You could even say, hey Kent, you said you had something to tell us at this stop. Either way it go, I'm gonna remember. I'm just wanting to see who remembers to remind me. And I remember all of your faces. No, but I got a more serious question. Do you guys want one of those boring scripted tours, or can I keep it real?
Keep it real, bud.
Keep it real? You do realize you just gave me permission to tell you stuff about Chicago that a lot of those other tour guys want to talk about. When I get through with you, you're going to think you live in Chicago. You never know. Now, with that being said, can we go just a tad bit slower up to 18th, Miss L? I want you guys to look straight ahead to your right. You see the trees and those townhomes. That was once the only gated community in Chicago. Back when Chicago former mayor Richard M. Daley resided over there. So remember this location, because I'm going to tell you something about it in just a moment. But straight ahead to your left-hand side, thank you, I really appreciate it, is Soldier Field, home of the Bears. When Soldier Field was first built back in 1924, the name was Grant Park Stadium. It didn't become Soldier Field up until the following year in 1925, when it was renamed in honor of the World War soldiers. Now, the old portion of the stadium we see all over the place, that's the original stadium. Addition to the stadium. But all additions are not good additions, and Soldier Field found out the hard way. Because when that addition was made to Soldier Field, guess what happened to the stadium? It was demoted. Kicked off the national registration of historic places because it had been altered. But that's not it. Soldier Field originally held 71,500 seats. But after that addition, it now holds 61,500. Sounds like a subtraction to me. But they say, no, we built more skyboxes. I don't buy it, so you don't have to buy it. I don't let them tell me anything, because I'm not just going to come up here and tell you guys anything. I'm going to tell it like it is. And unfortunately, the Chicago Bears, they wasn't selling out the stadium. Yeah, they sucked. So I'm guessing they figured if we take out 10,000 seats, which they did, we can raise the price on the remaining seats, which they did, to make up all of that lost revenue from every seat that was left empty on Sunday, which they did. And as you guys know, it's all about that revenue at the end of the day. Now, I could be wrong, but I could be right. Coming up on your right-hand side behind this hill, you will see an airport control tower. And this was once Chicago's third airport named Meigs Field. But now it's just a wildlife preservation because Chicago former mayor Richard M. Daley sent bulldozers and plows over there in the middle of the night and carved up the runways. It made breaking news all over the city. What has gotten into Mayor Daley? Why did he destroy Meigs Field? You know what he said? He didn't think it was safe having 3 airports right after 9/11. Great answer, but I don't buy that either. Because do you remember over there where I showed you the trees and townhouses? I think he just didn't want to have so close to his residence. Once again, I could be wrong. But once again, I could be right. Over to your right-hand side is the Gold Star Family Memorial and Park, which is dedicated to the men and women of law enforcement that unfortunately lost their life in the line of duty. And there'll be markers that cascade down that monument, and it symbolizes the tears of the families. And that's something incredible that I think the city of Chicago did for those fallen officers, because you really must be brave to go out day after day, jeopardizing and putting your life on the line, knowing that there's no guarantee you coming home to your children, your wives, your husbands, your loved ones in general. And unfortunately, the ones who that memorial is for are the ones who never returned home because they made the ultimate sacrifice serving and protecting this great city of Chicago. So I do have the utmost respect for the men and women of law enforcement. Now, we're officially inside museum campus, in which you will see 3 museums. The first one to your left is the Field Museum. The second one out front is the Shed Aquarium. And the third and final museum is just around the corner. You know how you be looking at something on TV, and when they get interesting, they go to commercial break? That was like my little commercial break. But it's literally around this corner at the end of the peninsula to Lake Michigan, and that's the Adler Planetarium. Now, over to your left is the Polish fighter Kosciuszko. And he fought beside the first president of the United States, General George Washington. But the reason he's not noted as much throughout the history books is because President Washington had a hard time pronouncing his name. I did too, to be honest. When I first started 5 years ago, I thought his name was Kosciuszko. But now to your left is the Polish Czech philosopher Havlicek. Chicago have the second largest Polish population on the planet, behind Warsaw, which is located in Poland. Yeah, so as we continue down Solidarity Drive, the third and final statue, also in the middle of the walkway, also of Polish descent, is the Polish astronomer Copernicus. And Copernicus was the first astronomer who discovered Earth was not the center of our solar system. Earth was just another one of 9 planets that revolves around our star, the sun, the true center of our solar system. This will be stop number 9, your Adler Planetarium stop. Your first of 2 stops is going to be around there. Yes, ma'am. You ain't got to be in a rush to leave me. Oh, and if you look up at Copernicus, he got some bird poop on his back. I told you, if I see it, I'm going to tell you about it. You never know what I'm going to talk about. I talk about any and everything from bird poop to skyscrapers. Over to your right at the Adler, you can see 2 of the 12 zodiac signs. And those are Aries and Taurus. Do I have any Aries on board? Do I have any tourists on board? Look like we in a dead time, 0-0. But this is stop number 9. The Adler is perfect right here. Adler Planetarium. I got passengers coming down by the second female architect in Chicago history, Miss Jean Gang. And Miss Jean Gang also designed what's in my opinion the most beautiful building in Chicago, which is the Aqua Building on Upper Columbus. And that's the building that as you go past it look like waves inside of Lake Michigan. Yeah, and it looked like the waves are moving. And what gives it that illusion is that no two floors were created identical. Now, coming up on your right hand side is the Shed Aquarium. And this is the largest aquarium in the United States. It's got 90,000 gallons there. Now, it's the largest mammal fish hybrid on the planet. But up until 3 years ago, I didn't even care. Because we had something inside our aquarium that Atlanta didn't have. And they couldn't top. We had the only fish that successfully underwent chemotherapy. I can't make this up, by the way. It was an Australian lungfish by the name of Grandad. And scientists dated Grandad between 87 and 92 years old. The oldest fish in captivity. But unfortunately, going on 3 years ago, Grandad passed away. But we still got some great exhibits, such as the beluga whale, the dolphin show, the stingray exhibit. Watch your hands. So as we make this right hand turn onto McFetters, this will be stop number 10. Your Field Museum Shed Aquarium stop. Your final stop inside the museum campus. Shed Aquarium. Field Museum. Named after Marshall Field, who is the biggest donor and contributor into the construction of this museum built back in 1921. The original name was the Field Museum of Natural History and is known for having the largest intact fossil of a Tyrannosaurus Rex. And the name is Sue. Sue the dinosaur. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't the name Sue a woman name? I mean, don't get me wrong, I know all about Johnny Cash and the boy named Sue. But predominantly, it's a woman's name, correct? Short for Susan, like that. So I'm guessing, how do you know if it was a male or a female dinosaur? My logical guess is because it was discovered by the young lady paleontologist, Miss Sue Hendrickson, who discovered them up in South Dakota. And she said, it's my dinosaur, I found them, and I'm going to call them what I want to call them. Better yet, I'm going to do you one better. I'm going to name them after me. So that's where Sue the dinosaur got his name from, Miss Sue Hendrickson, that discovered them up in South Dakota. Over to your right, on the side of the Field Museum, is a replica of a brachiosaur that we've named Dana. Now, we're on Lakeshore Drive, and it's only appropriate that I tell you about the history of Lakeshore Drive. Lakeshore Drive is the 8-lane street that you guys see today, because originally there were only 2 lanes. But this is where the North America first auto race took place, back in 1895. Now listen closely, because this is my passenger participation part of my tour. If you were to take a wild guess at how fast the winning car went in that first North American auto race back in 1895, how fast would you say it went? Now, the ladies win 95% of the time. But they act like they don't really know that much about vehicles. Trust me, they know more than they let on. Because if I was to gamble, my money would be on the women, but I'ma still root for the fellas. Let's see how it turns out. I'ma start off. How fast would you say the winning car in North America's first auto race back in 1895 took place?
22 miles an hour.
22, 50. What's your lucky number? 20. Where did 38 come from? Oh yeah. How about you guys? 20? How you gonna steal his answer? She like, forget it, give me 22. How about you guys? 30? 50? 35? So you gonna steal her answer, huh? And last but not least, how fast would you say? 28? We got some great answers, you guys. And the person that was the closest was, I'm not gonna tell you.
Oh, come on.
Over to your left, to your side is Buckingham Fountain. Given to the city of Chicago back in 1927 from Miss Catherine Buckingham in dedication of her brother Clarence. Buckingham Fountain have 1.5 million gallons of circulated water, pumps over 14,000 gallons per minute, and there are 133 jets on that fountain that are controlled by a computer up in the suburb of Arlington Heights, Illinois, with the top jet able to spray water 150 feet in the air. Some of you may even recognize that fountain because it was featured on the 1990 sitcom Married with Children on the opening scene. You guys remember that, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Love and marriage, love. Yeah, the Frank Sinatra song. Okay, I left you guessing long enough. Fellas, I'm not gonna tell
Oh,
you yet.
come on.
Over to your, can I give you a quick rundown of the skyline first? Since this is the best view. Over to your left, we're gonna start on the left. The infamous diamond-shaped building that you see in all of the skyline photos is the Crane Communication I showed you earlier, originally named the Smurfit Stone Building. Then the short tan color building is the Prudential Building, which was Chicago's tallest building up until 1969, with only 40-some stories. Then the silverish blue-looking building with the one spire is Chicago's second tallest building, the Trump International Hotel, standing at 1,998 feet. Then you got the building that looks like a needle or a pencil. That's the Prudential 2 Tower. And when they started constructing the Prudential 2, the original plan was to demolish the building that says Prudential. But halfway through the project, they realized it would be more cost-effective to leave it standing. So they connected them both at ground up and they became Prudential. The tall green color building is Chicago's third tallest building, the 866. Then you have the Blue Cross and Blue Shield building, better known as the Lego building. You know, like the children toys that you stack up? Because if you look halfway up the building where you can see through to the other side, that is where the Blue Cross and Blue Shield building originally stopped when it was first built in 1995. But similar to how you stack up Legos, the top portion was stacked up there in 2004, with the Blue Cross and Blue Shield stating, as their company continues to grow, so will their building. And that's why if you look at the very top, it had those same two void places, like they're just waiting to be able to stack another piece up there. So you never know, maybe you guys come back and visit 5 or 10 years from now, there may be an addition to the Blue Cross and Blue Shield. Fellas, we have a tie. Actually, we have a three-way tie between all of my three passengers that gave me the answer of 20. Yeah, 20 miles per hour. You guys give them a round of applause. Come on now. Because the winning car, and actually 2 of the 3 was women, so technically they won again. But the winning car topped out at a max speed of only 7.5 miles per hour. Really? I can drive one of those 10-speed bikes faster than 7.5 miles per hour. When I was younger, I could have ran that fast. But you know, this back when they were driving doom buggies. They didn't have the V8s and V6s we got today. They hadn't even heard of a Hemi engine. To be just a little bit more precise, they were basically riding Flintstone mobiles. Yeah, that's basically what they were driving. Please remain seated as we come underneath Lakeshore Drive. If you look over to your right across the lock that blocked off the Chicago River from Lake Michigan, the 200-foot high Ferris wheel is located at stop number 12, Navy Pier. Yeah, Navy Pier. That stretches 3,000 feet out into Lake Michigan, and it was scheduled to be one of 5 piers according to the 1909 plan of Chicago. But the Great Depression hit in the 1920s, and at that time only one pier had been completed, Municipal Pier. It didn't become in the 1950s. Centennial Fountain, built back in 1989 in commemoration of 100 years in which the Chicago River had been reversed. And every hour on the hour, it sprays this enormous jet of water clean across the Chicago River for 5 complete minutes. Now, we're going to be making a right-hand turn over the Columbus Drive Bridge. So get your cameras ready because you will have 2 great photo opportunities. Now, over to your left is a great view of Chicago's 2nd tallest building, the Trump International and Hotel Tower. And that's the penthouse I was telling you about right there underneath that spire that sold for $17 million. And over to your right is a great view of the entrance to the Great Lakes. Lake Michigan by the Chicago River. Now, this is stop number 11.
Skateboard.
You remembered, huh? Can we pull all the way up, Miss L? The reason why I asked you guys, this is perfect. The reason I asked you to remind me of the skateboarders, look over here on your right. You see this clock on the ground with the 12, 9, 6, and 3? That was once a fully functioning working clock. But due to the skateboard community performing different tricks and stunts off of arms and centipedes, now you're just looking at Chicago's biggest broken clock on the ground. This is stop number 11, the Sheraton Hotel stop. And unfortunately, my time with you guys have run its course. Hope you enjoyed me as your tour guide as much as I enjoyed giving the tour. And also enjoy the rest of your time and vacation in Chicago. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, buddy.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, man.
Thank you much. I appreciate it. Thank you, sir. Thank you much. I appreciate it.
Or do we go to one?
You can go to stop number 1, the Mag Mile. Yeah, that's the best one. You walk right down the steps.
All right, thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
That to go up and down the river are $10 flat rate. Southside neighborhood to check out also Pilsen, 18th Street Pink Line, 16th Street, 18th Street, great street art. There's a little more south you go, the larger the number. And then, so like, that's a cool Hispanic neighborhood, although Pilsen was a name for when it was back in the Czech Republic neighborhood. Now we're here at Navy Pier, one of the most visited attractions in the city. That Ferris wheel, it's about 15 meters, it's 50 feet taller than the one that was here for 2 decades. Those cars are climate controlled. They made sure that was a thing with the new Ferris wheel, given that this area can get cold in months like September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, and sometimes May. June had a day of 50 at one point. Landscaping on your right, completed a couple years ago. The little building on your left, which they got plants on top. All the buildings in the city, people think, how can we put plants on top of them? That's a couple years old. They got restaurants you can check out here. Also, if you look up, you'll just see dragonflies flying through. They're in traffic. This is starting to be their rush hour time too, when they're doing their dragonfly things. Mostly murdering mosquitoes, so I'm on board with them. You'll see pillars in front of us with the letter Y in a circle around them. There's seats on your right shaped like the letter Y intentionally. The first logo before the Chicago flag, that's the one with the 4 red stars, was a circle of Y, and it's about the river, how it flows west, breaks up north and south, makes a Y shape. The flag with the 4 red stars, Chicago flag, 3 white stripes, 3 parts of Chicago, north, south, west, not east, that's a lake and river, 2 blue stripes. The 4 red stars, 2 triumphs, 2 tragedies. The Fort Dearborn Massacre, 1812, around the time of the War of 1812. Chicago Fire, 1871. And the 2 World Fairs, 1893 and 1933, were the 2 triumphs. You can check out restaurants, Bubblegum Shrimp, Billy Goat Tavern, Harry Carey's Tavern, Giordano's, Margaritaville, American Dog. They got the Chicago Children's Museum. That's a museum for children, not a museum of children. That'd be very creepy. Glad they did not do that other one. And then when we stop here next to this blue tent, which will also be the spot to pick the vehicle back up at, this is going to be our step number 12.
Do you know there's the original eastern terminus of 66 was Lakeshore and something. I mean, we've been to Adams in Michigan, where it currently is, I guess.
I think it would actually start to flow. I don't think it was part of Lakeshore Drive. I think it would actually flow west, because it would go on Ogden, which is a street that runs diagonally, which is past the river. And then so it would be like Michigan and Adams, then Ogden, and then Ogden would go for a while, and then I kind of forget where it trails off, at least in the city-wise.
Okay.
Here's a building that was going to exist in Chicago. Past tense. It was called the Spire. It's going to be 2,000 feet tall. It's going to be 609.6 meters tall. You will not see that building. 2008 was not a good time to make buildings. So instead, coming up once we cross this street, Illinois Street, you'll see a giant boulder ground that nature has taken over. People have done nothing with it since 2009. Or at least building wood. The hill with the trees next to it, that was added in about 2015. So the people in the residence have to stare at a giant boulder ground. My guess is about a third of it has water in it at this point. But there is definitely water in it. And then all the stuff is gross and not worth touching. That's gross. That's gross. They don't dust this roof. Underneath that you're seeing, it's only 30 feet deep. The lake you saw was about 300 feet deep. You see is about 9 meters deep. The lake you saw is about 90 meters deep. Okay, kayak rentals around here, that's about $30 for an hour. That fountain on your right, if you're here at the I started and then stopped for a second. They must have got it from IKEA. Hi-yo. And now we're going to go up to Michigan Avenue. We're going to turn on the bridge, DuSable Bridge. That's named after the first non-native settler of Chicago. That's John Baptiste Pont DuSable. Half Haitian, half French man. Had a fur trading post where that Apple Store is, which is the building that has the glass bottom, and it's supposed to look like it's a laptop on top.
Do you know who bought the penthouse up there on Trump?
The 89th floor. Oh,
Somebody said
Sanjay Shah was the CEO of a software company called Vistex out in Hoffman Estates. It was about it's the one that was $30 million originally, but then they got it for about $17 million because he paid it all in cash. I think that was the 89th floor. Maybe. And then that's all residential. The building, if you see white dots through the glass, that's parking garage, then hotels, then condominiums on top. Guy who did it, that's Adrian Smith, who did the tallest building in the world, the Burj Khalifa in Dubai. That's about 830 meters tall, the Burj Khalifa. This in front of us, the pole counts in the height, 356.6 meters, 423.3 meters. The Burj Khalifa, that is the same architect from Chicago, Adrian Smith, 830 meters or 2,700 feet. And then although stalled, he could possibly be doing the Jeddah Tower in Saudi Arabia, which would be 1,000 meters tall or 3,330 feet tall. Which the Willis Tower, that takes that building's about 442.6 meters, 1,451 feet. It takes 60 seconds to get up to the elevator, and your ears feel weird. So just imagine going up the elevator of like a 1,000-meter tall, 3,000 feet tall building. And then viewing the lake is pretty great on here. I'm sorry, the river. Oh, both technically. We're going to go pull into this
Water
area
taxi.
on your right. That's going to be our stop number 1. The guy with the wreath around his head is John Baptiste Pont DuSable. He also has a Museum of African American History on the south side in Hyde Park. You can see Chance the Rapper's Grammy there. We're going to stop here. We're going to stop here. And then this is going to be our stop number 1. Magnificent Mile is Michigan Avenue north of the river. It's like a marketing slogan, the Magnificent Mile, that's from the 1940s that has stuck. It was coming out of the Great Depression. There was a guy from Duluth, Minnesota, Arthur Rubloff, who purchased the land around here, then had his friends build stores around here, and then he coined the phrase Magnificent Mile. There's a part of the Art Institute that has a wing named after Arthur Rubloff, which is a pretty cool building to check out, the Art Institute. That's going to be around stop number 7. That stop called the Art Institute. TripAdvisor's put it in its top 5 best museums in the world ever since they started ranking stuff around 2012. This is number 1 here. And then you're going to see Burberry. World's largest Starbucks, that's what it's going to be. On your right, Dylan's Candy Bar, get some absurdly large cotton candy, the tables and chairs and the flower beds, moss covered everything. everything. All the flower beds around here, slightly different. Because the buildings are owned by different people and then they contact different private landscaping companies. On your left, that really tall tan building, 800 North Michigan Avenue. It's a looky building. If you would want to take a taxi with a horse, like the horse would be driving. Actually, a person would be driving the horse, technically. Either way, you can do it over there on your left, right in front of the Loyola Museum of Art. And then the water tower here on your left, they tend to have art galleries there until about 5 o'clock. That's a building for the 1860s, same as the one on your right. Everything else around here would have burnt up around that 1871 Chicago fire. That was from in front of us, Fullerton Avenue, well, way up north, to the lake, to 18th Street, to Halsted. Now we're going to turn, check out the horses on your left. And then this is going to be our stop number 2. We're going to have some people in the West Loop area, and now it's a training center for McDonald's. They bought the big property, and they have a international McDonald's with like a bunch of different options. More than like the McDonald's that you've been rolling into with like the 4 different options with the waffle McFlurry. No, way more than that. But if your destination is around that really big McDonald's, if you keep on the tour, you'll get that reference. You'll know what that one is. That's going to be around stop number 4. That neighborhood's River North. Murals of her in the Pilsen neighborhood. I think maybe Humboldt Park as well. If you, at one point, were leaving from the Willis Tower and saw a big red piece of art called the Flamingo from Alexander Calder, he has what's called mobile art hanging from ceilings in that building. And then 4th tallest building. That is the former John Hancock Center, now known as 875 North Michigan Avenue. If you Google John Hancock Center, it'll come up 875 North Michigan Avenue now. Those that had the contract with their names on the building decided not to, and now it's an address. I have no emotional ties to it. People have a tendency to still what I call the Willis Tower, the Sears Tower, just for nostalgia. This on your right came first, and it was done by the same people who did the Willis Tower. The architect was from the country Colombia, Bruce Graham. Bangladesh engineer Isaac Khan did this observation deck will be in this area, 360 Chicago. It's going to be around a lot more residential buildings, so you'll get a chance. You might see more swimming pools in this area for sure, and people shopping. If you're making your way to the Willis Tower, if you head up there, has the Sky Deck. That's 2 stops from the John Hancock Center stop. There is going to be people leaving their 9-to-5 jobs. So once you're up there, it'll start to look like little dots running around, frantically trying to make their way to Union Station. You spot as an ADHD, you can spot a fellow one from above. That's the 4th Presbyterian Church. That stays open until about 6 o'clock. If you've ever seen the movie My Best Friend's Wedding, they had the wedding scene inside there. You can explore it. It's pretty normal that people do. The garden area is pretty nice. I'll see wedding photographers sneak their clients in this area. If you wanted to head to the beach, we're facing the direction north. This sidewalk that we're waiting for people before we turn. If you keep on the sidewalk heading north, the direction in front of us, after about 2 streets, there's a tunnel that goes underneath Lakeshore Drive, then you're at the beach.
You want to get off or no?
If you try to head to the beach with the direction we're facing, you would get stopped by Lakeshore Drive. And now this is our 360 Chicago stop. Just double checking. Anyone departing from this area? I see no departures. So anyone downstairs, what's coming up? Ready to start loading. And then we're going to head over to the neighborhood River North. The Hard Rock Cafe will be pretty new, done over the summer. 1800s, 1/4 of butchers would have been German. The type of hot dog that was used was Wiener beef, and still is today. There is more spice to it. It was brought to the city by Jewish immigrants of Poland and Germany. And it was all beef. It was kosher for religious practices, safer to consume. That small green building on your right, by the way, Casino Club. Very exclusive club. Very rich people. I hear tour guides say the 400 richest people in Illinois. I haven't heard newspapers say it. Although I have heard, I've read the Chicago Tribune say that one could not be a member of that club if they're not already a member of that club. Their way of saying that if you're not developed your millions while you were inside of the womb, your odds of getting into that club are not good at all. If you didn't already qualify. That wasn't like that a month ago. Well, somebody's got to call that in. I don't know how to do that. These buildings, German architect Mies van der Rohe. I had a sense though. German architect Mies van der Rohe lived in that building on your right, did these series of black buildings. Very cute dog on your right as we turn. His students did the one that kind of looks like a fidget spinner on your right. You're going to see at least like 9 of his buildings. And we're going to be in Inner Lakeshore Drive. 1920s is when Lakeshore Drive to Michigan Avenue. All these buildings were 1920s. You see on the buildings brick, terracotta, and limestone. If the design on the building's really fancy, it's terracotta. It was a clay. Very popular 1880s to 1930s. Post-Chicago fire, because the material of terracotta does not catch on fire. Not just the outsides, but you can take steel frames, wrap them in terracotta, make them more resistant to overwhelming heat. Where that mail truck is, that's a turntable parking lot. You drive your car into that area, the bottom's round, it can spin, so you don't have to walk around the car to put your luggage in the back. When you're a Savage, you can just let the vehicle spin on its own. It's called the Drake Hotel, which cooled out on top. The purple part glows at night. It was at what, Winston Churchill, who have their Walt Disney, Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, Julia Roberts, Judy Garland, President Christ. On your right, that at least was the movie theater used to be there. It's going to be Cooper's Hawk coming on up. With the exception of where the Chanel store and the couple of buildings around it, those are new, finished this year. There's a bunch of old townhouses around us that's eventually turned into retail. Then we're on Oak Street on your right, Rush Street. In front of us is State Street. Restaurants like Bubblegum Shrimp. No. That was the name of the pier. Sorry. It's been a long day. Morton's Steakhouse. Hugo's Frog Bar. If you're feeling so fancy you want to consume a frog, you would go to Hugo's. Gibson's Steakhouse. Their steaks said to have its own USDA certification. Carmine's was Frank Sinatra's favorite restaurant. That's Rush Street. And then in the middle, there's a juice bar over there called Whispers, because that's where you're supposed to go and gossip. If you want to argue about current events, a block to your right, that park, Washington Square Park, that's nicknamed Bughouse Park at one point. For generations, that was a park way back in this day where they used to have the newspaper. They would have printed word on this large piece of paper. You couldn't hit the like button. You just had to, there was no comment section to go on and say mean things. So that park a block to your right, Bughouse Park, was the park people would go to get in arguments about current events. And has that reputation enough that still to this day they'll have open forum debates in there.
Have we passed, or will we pass by the old Playboy Mansion?
I think that would have been when we were next to the Drake Hotel. That would have been one block south. It would have been on Walton Place. I'm trying to figure out which particular building that was. I think it may have been the Knickerbocker, but I'm not too sure. If it's not that one, then it's a building next to it. And then the street that we're just on, as I was starting to stutter, we were turning from Oak Street. That street would have had an old folk rock club called the Gates of Horn, which, just like the Playboy Club would, back in the day, they would have comedians, and then one comedian, well, two technically, made it where the Gates of Horn didn't exist. His name was Lenny Bruce. He would use language that, for example, I can't give any examples of the words he would use. And then there was undercover police officers one day checking out the show, eventually arrested him for obscenity. A guy in the audience decided to speak his mind to the police officers. That was George Carlin. He got arrested for disorderly conduct, and then the Gates of Horn got their liquor license suspended for a week, and that's all it took, and it didn't exist afterwards. And now that's the Holy Name Cathedral on your left, 1875. Two churches that were destroyed in Chicago fire coming together, Cathedral of St. Mary's and Church of Holy Name. The Prohibition, the crime tours will come out here, because that was a church that there was a gangster taken out at, Henry Wojciechowski. He was part of Dan O'Banion's Northside Beer Runners. They had conflict with Al Capone's gang, and Al Capone's boss, John Torrio. John Torrio had conflict with Dion O'Banion. They over gambling debts. They resolved the conflict by Dion O'Banion no longer existing. Conflict solved. Wojciechowski, kind of angry, tried 3 times to take out Al Capone's gang. Was not successful. Al Capone's gang tried to take him out. Very successful. The end. At least for Wojciechowski. The true irony, given that the advocacy for the Prohibition was how it would decrease violence, and now you can check out tours that is solely based on the violence of that time.
You know what building's gonna go up in that excavation spot?
That's going to be called One Chicago. That was across the street from the church. It's going to be a big residential building. They're going to have spas. They're going to have a Whole Foods, residential, and it's going to have, if the renderings are correct, it looks like 3 swimming pools on the roof.
Jeez.
West address. If we would turn it a different direction, we'd be going on the wrong side of a one-way street, but everything would have been an east address at this point. Tau Chicago on your right, formerly known as Limelight and Excalibur and Castle. That was a building from the 1890s, originally the Chicago Historic Society. At one point, a backup board. Something must have went down. A ship, that's what went down. They needed a backup moored. Where Harpo Studios would have laid would have been the first moored. The batters up moored. That's be a better way to put that. We're going to stop here. Number 4. There's that really large McDonald's I was talking about. And then the street food place Portillo's. Hard Rock Cafe, Rainforest Cafe. And then in front of us, coming on up, there's going to be Maggiano's for Italian food. There's going to be Roca, a Japanese steakhouse and sushi. There's going to be the country music bar, Bob City. Now, momentarily, we're a little bit early. Sam Cooke, that was the Smashing Pumpkins, and that we just listened to was Muddy Waters, which is a very colorful mural of Muddy Waters on the streets. It's like State and Washington. 10-story tall. It's going to be on State Street, done by a Brazilian artist, Eduardo Cobro. If you want to listen to blues, there's going to be Sweet Home Blues Chicago. That opens up at 8 o'clock. Then just sparkling water. If you're looking for a country music bar, there's going to be Bob City that's going to be coming up on your left. There's also going to be a jazz club. Not this street, but the next one, Hubbard Street on Hubbard and State Street, Andy's Jazz Club. It's been there since the 70s. There's going to be a piano bar there called Howl at the Moon as well. And a tiki bar, 3 dots and a dash. You're going to see the river coming on up in a little bit too.
Clark Street.
And then at Boss Bar, if you're looking to be out until 4 o'clock, your prerogative. You can do what you want to do. New edition reference. And then, something that infuriates me a little bit. Hey, some of them are spinning. It's actually very rare that you got these wind turbines spinning. They found a quarter that not a lot of wind kind of generates around. That's why I think we need to hire kids to hang on a cord there and then let them spin those wind turbines. Why else have we been making the fidget spinners so popular? And then we got the river coming on up. That's a Chicago River. It's about 30 feet deep. It's 9 meters deep. It's vibrant plant life underneath it. That's a water taxi on your right. It goes from Ripley Towers east to here to behind the Opera House, all the way up to Ping Tom Park in Chinatown. 1 day pass is about $10. It's at that stop, so like how we have hop on, hop off, ditto. And every piece of that Riverwalk on your right is less than 5 years old. That's pretty new. Going to turn, there's going to be LaSalle Street coming on up, which during the Batman film The Dark Knight, 2 different scenes. The parade scene was on that street. LA LaSalle. The parade scene, Mayor Anthony Garcia was giving a speech, police officers lined out, turns out the police officers were the henchmen of Joker. Then there was a big riot on LaSalle Street. The mayor was almost taken out until Commissioner Gordon saves the day at the last minute. And there's the one scene where it's late at night, Joker's in the middle of the road, Batmobile's heading straight towards him. Joker's going, hit me, Batman couldn't do it. So the building at the very end, the Chicago Board of Trade, the Batmobile the Bat-Cycle would have driven into that building, Batman would have fallen off. Joker was about to have his way until Commissioner Gordon showed up. Alright. That's the merchandise part on your right. That was the architects Graham, Anderson, Probst and White. That would hurt. Art Deco style building. That one on your right. They've started doing projector light shows again. Once the sun sets, digital light shows. Looks like during the summer, it tends to be every day, or at least Wednesdays to Sunday. The that that building under construction is on is still owned by the Kennedy family. Although I think they stopped owning that physical building as of the 90s. Some other company owns them now. The towers on the Magnificent Mile. And an opera house you'll see coming up. And then the movie, Ferris Bueller's Day Off. That's where Ferris Bueller's dad worked at. And then those on your right, glass building. 2016, they were finished. One looks like an arrow point straight down. That's 150 North Riverside. Thin at the bottom, wide up top. Looks like a USB being plugged in. And then on your right, that building is the River Point. Has that arch on the bottom. Underneath it, that part of the Riverwalk have giant holes so that when the trains come in that are underneath the buildings, air can flow out. This building in front of us, or this train in front of us, would have the green line and the pink line. You want to check out a cool conservatory? It's Garfield Park Conservatory. That's also a self-titled stop on the green line. Open till 5 p.m. There's also a neighborhood called West Loop. If the idea of a pop-up Louis Vuitton store sounds intriguing, that's the West Loop neighborhood. Green line, stop in Oregon. Also has a Nando's for Portuguese food, Emporium, which is a 21 and older arcade bar, as well as pizza places, steakhouses. West Loop, an area hot enough that Google has their headquarters in Chicago over there, or has their offices. Randolph Street, one block to your left, a building that will have a red CNA on it, has Facebook offices in there. And the prettier, definitely prettier things to look at will be two theaters on your left. Nederlander Theater and the Cadillac Palace Theater. From the 1920s. Done by the same people who did the Chicago Theater at the two stops from now. Now this going up on your right. That's a big opera house. Our alphabet comes from the same source. The letter V existed before the letter U, so any words on the building to let you know it's Roman Greco inspired will take words usually spelled with the letter U and have a V there instead. So if it was on Microsoft Word, there'd be a red squiggly line underneath it. There'll be no words with the letter U at the Civic Theater, but Civic Opera House will have House HOVSE. Operas, a lot of musicals. From what I remember, Carousel, Oklahoma, King and I, My Fair Lady, West Side Story. Musicians like Johnny Lang and formerly of the Smiths, Morrissey. And what's even more impressive, if you know Morrissey, did not even cancel once. It was very impressive for him. Apparently really wanted to perform at the Opera House. This street behind us, or in front of us, is Madison. Everything behind us, north address. Once we cross the street, everything's a south address.
South side of Chicago and the baddest part of town? Not quite.
No. Like all the areas that people worry about are not necessarily economic areas that people are going to go to anyways. Which there's like cool neighborhoods. I spent a lot of time on the south side. I like Chinatown, Pilsen, Hyde Park, Bridgeport, west, whatever neighborhoods west of Pilsen's pretty nice. And all those are pretty cool areas. Bridgeport was the neighborhood that Richard J. and Richard M. Daley used to live in. That was mayors from the 50s to 70s and then 89 to 2000s, father and son. The west side, they have the neighborhood Logan Square, Wicker Park, there's Humble Park. Oh, once we get to a stop, I'll let you know about a gator that inspired a love story. basically in the neighborhood Humble Park, which is a Puerto Rican neighborhood, but the Humble name dates back to when it was a Polish neighborhood. There was somebody, we still don't know who, threw an alligator in one of the lagoons, and that's the first day was hilarious. It captured all of our hearts. Cost the city $32,000, but well worth it. There was someone in a newspaper reported someone took a rotisserie chicken from Cermak Produce, tied a string around it, hung over the bridge to try to see if they could catch an alligator.